Hi there, and welcome to the next video in the Esperanto 101 series, Building More Words. You'll recall very early in the series we talked about roots and how nouns and adjectives are built from them. By changing the O to A at the end of some nouns, we could get adjectives. Well, we're going to apply the principle of roots now to form compound words. Compound words are formed by joining together some roots. Now, in some cases, you may need to have a vowel come between them, as we'll see in this table, to make them more pronounceable. But the general rule for forming compounds is always remember that the thing that dominates the meaning of the word comes last. Consider the words doghouse and house dog in English. It's the same principle. A dog house is a type of house. A house dog is a type of dog. So, taglumo is not a type of day, it's a type of light. Taglumo is daylight. Heimkuiri would mean to home cook. To cook in a homely way, the way that's familiar to home, or domestic. Doghouse and house dog would be hundomo and domhundo. You could stick an O in between those pieces if you found them difficult to say together. Hundo domo, domo hundo. You might see one author use one and another use another. The important thing is that you can understand what is meant. And a hairbrush would be a harbroso. Hair, brush. There's a set of standard suffixes in Esperanto which allows to greatly increase the number of words we have. We're going to go through these pretty fast, but you can always scroll the video back and take a closer look. Ach is a pejorative suffix. It takes whatever came before and makes it sort of a crappy, run-down, broken, sloppy version of it. So scribi is to write, but scribaci is to scrawl, to write chicken scratch, that sort of thing. To write very badly and very sloppily. Ad makes a gerund. That is to say, it makes the noun that describes the action ongoing from a verb. So, if you have to speak, which is paroli, and now you make parolado, it means the ongoing act of speaking. In other words, a speech. Age is used to make a manifestation of something. There's a couple different ways you can interpret this. If you take it as appending to an adjective like nov, which is new, you get a word signifying an object that exemplifies that. It's a new thing. It's a little bit of newness, novajo, a novelty. If you take an animal, it rather grimly refers to meat from the animal. So beef is bovajo, a manifestation or a piece from a bovine. And oddly enough, food is the manifestation of eating, mangiajo. An adherent of a philosophy or a religion is an an. So you start with the name of Christ, Christo, and make Christian from that by saying Cristano. R takes something and turns it into a collective. A herd of bovines is a bovaro. And in the example here, we see, as we've seen before, a collection of trees or a forest is an arbaro. Eble turns a verb into the possibility of that verb. Can something be loved? Is it lovable? Then it's amebla. Something likable, it would be chatebla. Etz, ec. Etz is like ness in English, the ness suffix. It takes something and turns it into the abstract quality. So novezzo would be newness. Bonezzo here is goodness. Junezzo would be youthfulness. Egg is the augmentative. It makes something bigger. Domego turns a house into a mansion. Grandego turns big into huge. A the ej suffix, creates the name of a place that's for the thing or like the thing or related to the thing. So a learneo is a school, a place for learning. M is the suffix that refers to a tendency or being sort of full of something. So ludi is to play, ludema is playful. Makes a little particle of something, a little bit of something. The verb neji is to snow. If you want to say it's snowing, you simply say nejas without any subject. The it is part of English grammar, but in Esperanto grammar, there's really no subject. It's something is snowing, but we don't say what, so it's just nejas. But to turn snow into snowflake, you use the suffix, so negero. Ester comes from maestro, if you think of the Italian word. It makes the leader or the boss of something. So if we take learneo from above, a school, then the learneestro is the headmaster or the school principal. Et is the opposite of egg. It makes a diminutive. It makes the little version of something. So dometto is a cottage or a hut. That doesn't mean it's a dirty or bad little house. It just means that it's little. Remember, if it were bad, you have the suffix ach to make it a dirty, filthy, yucky house. The offspring of everything is an id. So a sapling of a tree is an arbido. A calf is a bovido. You don't have to remember calf versus kid versus all those other odd little words for what is the young of this animal. You just take the animal and use the id suffix. Il makes the instrument or tool for doing something. So since to cut is tranchi, sounds like truncate, a knife is a tranchillo. Ind means something is worthy of something. It's not just possible to do something, it deserves it. That's the subtle difference between ind and eble. Ameble means that something is lovable. Aminda means that something really deserves to be loved. It's really love-worthy. So if credi is to believe, credinda means that that person is credible. They deserve to be believed. Ing makes the holder for a single thing, or a sheath for a single thing. A sword is a glavo, so a scabbard is a glavingo. A candle is a candello, so a candle holder is a candelingo. Ism is just like in English. It's a doctrine or a system. Of course, it's pronounced ism, not like a Z sound in the middle. So Christianity is formed by taking a Christian, a Cristano, and saying what system they are part of. Cristianismo. Ist is someone who does something. Now there's an ending we're going to find that you can put on a verb that's just somebody who's doing a thing. In fact, it's the ending that's used in the word Esperanto itself, somebody who is hoping. But the ist suffix means that the person does it as a calling, as a profession, that they take it seriously. It's not just that they happen to be doing it at that moment. It's a part of their life. It doesn't necessarily have to be their job. You don't get paid to be an Esperantist, but they still call you an Esperantisto. Here we have instruisto. Instrui is to teach. So a teacher is an instruisto. Then we have a few suffixes that only apply to numbers. There's obl, on, and op. Obl forms multiples. Kvarobla, quadruple. Kvinobla, quintuple. On is used to make fractions. So an ok ono is an eighth. Op is a numerical grouping. So a triopo is a triad. Or to make it an adverb would be to do things by threes. So if you said you were gathering things triope, that would mean to be gathering them by threes. Ul is someone who is of the quality or like the thing you're describing. So a yun ulo is somebody who is young, a youth. not to be confused with youth as in the abstract quality of youthfulness, which would be eunetso. Ui, as a suffix, today is primarily used only for a container. Now this is a container that can hold more than one of a thing, unlike the suffix ing, which we saw for scabbard. So a salt shaker or a salt cellar would be a saluyo. But when first created, Esperanto used this suffix also rather racistly, perhaps, as a container for people was a country. So the word for an Englishman was an Anglo, so Angluyo was England. That's an archaic term nowadays, and as we see below, there's a better suffix used nowadays. It was also used for trees. A pamuyo was a container for trees, which meant an apple tree. Today we would call that a palmarbo. The modern suffix for a country is io, so we have Anglio, not Angluyo. It's not a container for Englishmen, it's a country of Englishmen. Then there's a sort of ad hoc indefinite suffix which is used in specific ways on specific words. It's kind of when, man, we were too lazy to come up with a whole new root word for this thing, but it's related to another thing, and we just didn't really have the right suffix for it. So these are usages that have been defined by Esperantists over a long time and reused consistently. So kolo is a neck, kolumo is a collar. Krutsi, or krutzo rather, is a cross, so krutsumi is to crucify. Dexes is the number 16, so dexesuma is the adjective meaning hexadecimal. And vento refers to wind, so ventumi is to fan. And then there's a couple of suffixes which are sort of not put on the end of names, but partway through names. They're sort of weird. They're used to make affectionate or pet names from a full name. So if John or Johanno receives the masculine ch, it becomes Yocho, which you could think of as the Esperanto word for Jack. And similarly, Johanna would become Ionio, which would be Joni or Jenny or some such thing. These are probably not very commonly used nowadays. In addition to the standard suffixes, there's a few standard prefixes. There's bo, which means in-law. Very simple. Patro is father. Bo patro is father-in-law. Dis means things are scattered. Jeti is to throw things. Disjeti means to throw things in such a way that they're scattered all over the place. Ek means the beginning, something that happens quickly at the beginning of something. So, ami is to love. Ek ami is to fall in love. X, spelled EKS, is just what it is in English. It means the X of something. So an edzo is a husband, ex-edzo is an ex-husband. Fi makes something filthy or shameful. See, ach means the thing isn't put together well. You know, domacho is a house that's shabby and falling apart. But a fidomo would be a house of ill repute. You know, a house that's actually filthy and nasty, not just, crumbling. So a fivorto is a profane word. Get is used on a root to make it apply to both sexes or both genders. So you can take gepatroi, parents. Now you may be asking yourself, well, wait a minute. If patro is father, why did I get to pick that for parents? Well, naturally you will think, okay, a lot of languages default to masculines, but more on that in the next video. We have a lot to say about Esperanto in this regard. The prefix mis means that something is just incorrect. It's not necessarily nasty or awful, it's just wrong. And in this case, it is a bad thing. Accusi is to accuse. Misaccusi is to misaccuse, to wrongfully accuse. Pra is like proto. or saying that something is ancient or old or primordial or ancestral. So prahemo would be an ancestral home, the ancient homeland of your ancestors. And re means the same thing as re in English. It means repeated. So if you build something, it's construi. If you rebuild it, it's reconstrui. And then there's the very overworked prefix mal. It makes antonyms. Esperanto doesn't have a separate root for bad. It's just malbona. It doesn't have a separate root for old, either the opposite of young or the opposite of new. It's maljuna or malnova. There's no word for small. It's malgranda. There's no word for empty. It's malplena. There's no word for left. And speaking as a left-hander, I don't love this, but it is what it is. Maldextra. Which word of a pair exists and which one just gets mal? Well, just have to remember that. Finally, foreign words. This is the term Zamenhof uses in the 16 Rules to refer to a word that basically all the other languages of Europe have agreed upon coming from a single source. Those words just get imported into Esperanto as close as they can following Esperanto's orthography, but their derivatives get derived using Esperanto's rules, not using the original language rules. The example he gives is teatro, which is the Esperanto word for theater. The word for theatrical is not teatricala or something derived from theatrical. It's derived simply by taking the word for theater and making it an adjective the Esperanto way. So, teatra. Another example of a foreign import word that everybody in Europe agrees on and therefore Esperanto just uses it as it is telefono. In the next video, we're going to look at building even more words and looking at some of the more interesting problems that we are faced with making words in Esperanto. Dankan pro la spektado.